The Automatic Millionaire. A documentary script. Let me tell you about two people. One of them drives a brand new BMW. It's black. It's sleek. Every morning, he pulls out of a gated community where the smallest house costs $800,000. He wears a stainless steel Rolex. He vacations in Cabo. His Instagram looks like a magazine. The other drives a 5-year-old Honda Civic. It's gray. It's unremarkable. She lives in a modest 3-bedroom home in a middle-class neighborhood. She shops at Target. She packs her lunch. Her idea of a splurge is takeout on Friday night. Who is richer? If you said the man with the BMW, you would be wrong. Probably. Statistically, almost certainly wrong. Here is what decades of research have found. The people who look wealthy are usually not wealthy. They are drowning in debt. They are one paycheck away from disaster. They are spending everything they earn and more to maintain an illusion. And the people who look ordinary? The ones driving the Honda and living in the modest house? Those are often the actual millionaires. A famous study called The Millionaire Next Door interviewed thousands of people worth over $1 million. The average millionaire drove a Ford F-150. Bought used. Lived in a 3-bedroom house. Bought suits off the rack. This is not a moral judgment. It is not about good or bad. It is about a simple mathematical truth that most people never learn. There is a massive difference between looking rich and being rich. So here is the question that changed everything for me. What if you could become a millionaire without ever winning the lottery, without inheriting a fortune, without starting a business, without getting lucky with some risky investment? What if you could become a millionaire by accident? Just by living your normal life, making your normal choices, and letting a simple system do all the heavy lifting? That sounds impossible. I know. It sounded impossible to me the first time I heard it. I remember sitting in my apartment, checking my bank account, and realizing something painful. I wasn't broke. But I wasn't getting ahead either. Every month, money came in. Every month, money went out. And at the end of the year, I had nothing to show for it. I thought I was doing everything right. I paid my bills on time. I didn't buy stupid things. But somehow, I was stuck. Then I found a book that changed everything. Over the next 2 hours, I am going to show you exactly what I learned. And I promise you, by the time we reach the end, you will never think about money the same way again. Part 1, The Problem with Willpower. Let me ask you something. How many times have you told yourself you would start saving next month? Be honest. Next month, when you get your bonus. Next month, when you pay off that credit card. Next month, when things settle down. Next month, when you finally have some breathing room. And then next month comes. And the same thing happens. There is always another bill. There is always another expense. There is always a reason to wait just a little longer. This is not because you are lazy. This is not because you are bad with money. This is because you are human. Here is what most financial advice gets completely wrong. They tell you to make a budget. Track every expense. Cut out the lattes. Use cash envelopes. Be disciplined. And it works. For about 3 weeks. Then life happens. You have a stressful day at work. You forget to pack lunch. You buy a sandwich. You feel guilty. You say screw it. You buy the sandwich and the chips and the cookie. And then you stop tracking altogether. This is not a failure of character. This is a failure of system. Willpower is a limited resource. Every decision you make drains a little bit of it. What to wear. What to eat. What to work on. What to ignore. By the time you get to the end of the day, your ability to make good choices is exhausted. And that is exactly when you make your worst financial decisions. So what is the solution? Stop relying on willpower. Stop trying to make the right decision every single time. Instead, build systems that make the right decision automatic. This is not a new idea. The most successful people in any field are not the ones with the most willpower. They are the ones who structure their environment so that the right behavior is easy and the wrong behavior is hard. But when it comes to money, almost everyone does the opposite. They rely on memory. They rely on discipline. They rely on deciding every single month whether or not to save. And then they wonder why they never make progress. There is a better way. Part 2, The Book That Changed Everything. In 2005, a financial advisor named David Bach published a small book with a bold promise. He said that anyone could become a millionaire. Not by being smarter. Not by earning more. Not by having more discipline. But by doing one simple thing. Making their finances automatic. The book was called The Automatic Millionaire. And it became a phenomenon. Over 1.5 million copies sold. Bestseller lists around the world. Translated into dozens of languages. Why did this book resonate so deeply? Because David Bach noticed something strange in his years as a financial advisor. His wealthiest clients were not the ones with the highest IQs. They were not the ones with the most expensive degrees. They were not the ones who made the most money. They were the ones who had set up automatic systems and then forgotten about them. The ones who paid themselves first, before anyone else. The ones who never saw the money they saved because it disappeared from their account the moment they got paid. The ones who never had to decide whether to save this month because the decision was already made. The system worked whether they were motivated or not. Whether they were paying attention or not. Whether the stock market was up or down. And the rest of us? We are out here trying to outsmart ourselves every single day. Making the same resolutions. Breaking the same promises. Wondering why nothing ever changes. Here is the truth that the book reveals. You do not need to be great with money. You just need to be automatic. But before we get into the system, I need you to do something uncomfortable. I need you to look at where you actually stand. Part 3, The Number You Are Avoiding. Imagine you are going on a road trip. You get in the car. You start the engine. You pull out of your driveway. And you have no idea where you are going. You do not have a destination. You do not have a map. You do not have GPS. You just start driving, hoping you will end up somewhere good. That is exactly how most people approach their money. They have no idea what their net worth is. They have no idea how much they spend each month. They have no idea what their retirement will look like. They are just driving blind, hoping for the best. And hoping is not a strategy. So here is the first action step. And I know you do not want to do this. I know it feels uncomfortable. I know you have been avoiding this number for years. Calculate your net worth. Everything you own minus everything you owe. Your bank accounts. Your retirement accounts. Your investments. The value of your home. Your car. Subtract your credit card debt. Your student loans. Your car loans. Your mortgage. Any other money you owe. The result is your net worth. For many of you, this number is negative. You owe more than you own. And if that is you, you are not alone. The average American household carries over $10,000 in credit card debt. Student loan debt is over $1.7 trillion. Most people are one emergency away from financial disaster. But here is the thing. Your net worth is not your fault. But it is your responsibility. And it is the single most honest measure of your financial life. Not your income. Not your job title. Not the car you drive or the neighborhood you live in. Your net worth is the truth. It tells you exactly where you stand. And more importantly, it tells you exactly where you are headed. Because your net worth changes every single day. Every time you spend money, it goes down. Every time you save money, it goes up. Every time your investments grow, it goes up. Every time you add debt, it goes down. This is not complicated. And yet, most people never track this number. They avoid it because it feels bad. And that avoidance is exactly why nothing ever changes. What gets measured gets managed. What gets managed gets improved. So here is your first commitment. Pause this video right now. Open your banking app. Write down your assets and debts. Subtract one from the other. That number is your starting point. Now commit to calculating it every single month for the rest of your life. Not because the number matters on its own, but because watching that number grow will become addictive. It will change your decisions. You will start asking yourself, does this purchase help my net worth or hurt it? And that small shift in thinking changes everything. But tracking your net worth is just the beginning. The real magic happens when you understand the force that turns small savings into massive wealth. Part 4, The Eighth Wonder of the World. Let me tell you a story about two friends. Their names are Sarah and Mike. They are both 22 years old. They both just graduated college. They both got their first real jobs. They both want to become millionaires. But they take different paths. Sarah decides to start saving immediately. She finds $200 a month. Not easy on an entry-level salary. But she makes it work. She puts that money into an investment account that earns an average of 8% per year. She does this for 8 years. From age 22 to age 30. Then she stops. She never adds another dollar. She has contributed less than $20,000 of her own money. Now she focuses on other things. Travel. A nicer apartment. A better car. Mike decides to wait. He wants to enjoy his 20s. He goes to concerts. He eats at nice restaurants. He buys a reasonable car, nothing crazy, but nicer than Sarah's. He tells himself he will start saving when he is older, when he makes more money. At age 30, Mike finally gets serious. He starts putting $200 a month into the same type of investment account. But he does not stop at 8 years. He keeps going. He saves every single month for the next 35 years. Until he retires at 65. Who ends up with more money? Most people guess Mike. After all, he saved for 35 years. Sarah only saved for 8. Mike put in over $84,000 of his own money. Sarah put in less than $20,000. Surely, Mike will have more. But that is not what happens. Sarah, who stopped saving at age 30, ends up with over $400,000. Mike, who saved for 35 years, ends up with just over $300,000. Sarah wins by $100,000. Even though she contributed less. Even though she stopped saving decades earlier. How is this possible? Compound interest. The money Sarah saved in her 20s had decades to grow. Each year, she earned returns on her original savings. Then she earned returns on those returns. Then returns on the returns on the returns. Her money was working for her, creating new money, which then created even more money. This is the snowball effect. Mike started later. His money had less time to snowball. So even though he saved more money, and saved for longer, he could never catch up. Einstein reportedly called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who does not, pays it. But here is what most people miss. The most important factor in compound interest is not the interest rate. It is not the amount you save. It is not the investment you choose. It is time. Every year you delay saving, you lose years of compounding. And those years can never be recovered. Let me make this even more concrete. If you start saving at age 25, you need to save about $300 a month to become a millionaire by age 65. If you wait until age 35, you need to save about $700 a month. If you wait until age 45, you need to save over $2,000 a month. Start at 55. Over $6,000 a month. Do you see what is happening? By waiting, you are not just delaying. You are making the goal exponentially harder. You are turning a simple, easy process into an impossible struggle. This is why David Bach says time is the most underrated asset in personal finance. And this is why the Automatic Millionaire system is built around one central principle. Start now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when you get a raise. Not when you pay off your credit cards. Not when you feel ready. Now. Because every day you wait is a day your money could have been working for you. Sarah is now retired. She has $400,000. She never thinks about money. She gardens. She volunteers. She visits her grandkids. Mike is still working. He has $300,000. It is not enough. He needs to keep going. He wonders what would have happened if he had started at 22 like Sarah. But I can hear what you are thinking. This is great in theory. But I have no money to save. My paycheck is gone before the month ends. I cannot find an extra $300 a month. I get it. That is the most common objection. And it leads us to a story that might change your mind. Part 5, The Latte Factor. Let me tell you about a woman named Kimberly. Kimberly came to David Bach's office frustrated. She was 30 years old, earning $60,000 a year, and had zero savings. Zero. She told him she could not save because she had no money left at the end of the month. Bach asked her to list her monthly expenses. Rent. Car payment. Insurance. Groceries. Utilities. Nothing unusual. Then he asked about her daily routine. Kimberly worked in an office building with a coffee shop in the lobby. Every morning, she bought a latte for $4 and a muffin for $3. $7 a day. She also ate lunch out every day. $15. After work, she stopped at a convenience store for a snack and a drink. Another $5. $27 a day. 5 days a week. $135 a week. $540 a month. Kimberly was spending over $6,000 a year on small, daily purchases. And she had no idea. This is the latte factor. And before you roll your eyes, let me be clear about what this is not. This is not saying poor people are poor because they buy coffee. This is not saying you should never enjoy anything. This is not saying the solution to systemic financial problems is personal sacrifice. The latte factor is about finding the leaks in your spending. The small, automatic, habitual purchases that you do not even notice. The money that disappears without you ever feeling like you spent it. For Kimberly, it was coffee and muffins. For you, it might be something else. It might be the delivery fees from food apps. The subscription services you forgot to cancel. The impulse buys online. The app purchases your kids make. The late fees you pay because you forgot to pay a bill on time. The interest on your credit card because you only pay the minimum. The buy now pay later plans that seem free but add up. These are not moral failings. They are simply habits. And habits can be changed. But here is the secret that most financial advice misses. You do not need to eliminate every small pleasure. You do not need to feel deprived. You just need to find one thing. One small expense that you can redirect toward savings. Kimberly did not give up lattes forever. She gave up the daily muffin. That saved her $60 a month. She started bringing lunch 3 days a week. That saved her another $100 a month. She found $160 a month without feeling like she was sacrificing anything meaningful. She set up an automatic transfer for that $160. It came out of her account on payday. She never saw it. 10 years later, that $160 a month had grown into over $30,000. From a muffin and a few packed lunches. Now imagine you find $5 a day. One small thing. One unused subscription. One daily snack. $5 a day is $150 a month. $1,800 a year. Invested at 8% over 30 years, that $5 a day becomes over $200,000. $200,000. From one small change. Now imagine you find $10 a day. Or 20. Or 50. The numbers become life-changing. But here is the most important part. You do not need to find this money by cutting everything you love. You just need to find the wasted money. The money that disappears without making you happier, healthier, or more fulfilled. And once you find it, you do not trust yourself to save it manually. You automate it. Kimberly is now 40 years old. She has over $30,000 saved. She still buys coffee. She still eats out sometimes. But her system runs automatically. She does not think about saving anymore. It just happens. Which brings us to the most important financial habit you will ever build. Part 6, Pay Yourself First. Let me tell you about the way almost everyone manages their money. They get paid. The money hits their checking account. Then they pay everyone else. The landlord. The electric company. The credit card company. The phone company. The streaming services. The grocery store. The restaurants. And then, if anything is left, they pay themselves. Nothing is ever left. This is the most common financial pattern in the world. And it guarantees that you will never build wealth. Because you are treating yourself as the lowest priority. You are telling the universe that everyone else gets paid before you do. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine that every time you get paid, the first check you write is to yourself. Before the landlord. Before the electric company. Before anyone else. You pay yourself first. This is not a new idea. Every financial expert worth listening to has preached this for generations. George Clason wrote about it in The Richest Man in Babylon in 1926. Napoleon Hill wrote about it in Think and Grow Rich. Every religious tradition that discusses money teaches some version of first fruits. Pay yourself first. But most people do not do it. Not because they disagree with the idea. But because they do not know how to implement it. How can you pay yourself first when your rent is due tomorrow? How can you pay yourself first when your credit card minimum payment is due? How can you pay yourself first when you are already living paycheck to paycheck? The answer is that you do it automatically. And you do it before you ever see the money. Here is how this works in practice. You set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to a savings or investment account. This transfer happens on payday. The same day your paycheck arrives. Before you have a chance to spend the money. Before you have a chance to talk yourself out of it. Before life gets in the way. The money leaves your account the moment it arrives. And then you forget about it. You do not decide every month whether to save. You do not rely on discipline. You do not need willpower. The decision is made once and then executed forever. This is the magic of automation. And it works because of a psychological principle called loss aversion. Humans feel the pain of losing something more intensely than the pleasure of gaining something. When you see money in your account and then choose to move it to savings, it feels like a loss. It hurts. So you avoid it. But when the money never appears in your checking account at all, you do not feel the loss. You simply adjust to a slightly smaller paycheck. And you find a way to live on what is left. This is not theory. This has been studied extensively. People who automate their savings save dramatically more than people who try to save manually. Not because they earn more. Not because they are more disciplined. Simply because they remove the decision from their daily life. So here is your action step. Pause this video. Open your banking app right now. Decide what percentage of your income you want to save. David Bach recommends starting with at least 10%. But do not let perfection be the enemy of good. If you can only save 1%, start there. The habit matters more than the amount. Then set up an automatic transfer for that amount. Make it happen on payday. Make it so you would have to physically call the bank and cancel the transfer to stop saving. And then watch what happens. At first, you will feel a little tighter. You might need to adjust. You might need to cancel a subscription or eat out less often. But within a few months, you will have completely adapted. You will not miss the money because you never see it. And your future self will thank you. Because while you are living your normal life, making your normal decisions, spending your normal money, a small portion of every paycheck is quietly building your future. This is how ordinary people become millionaires. Not through heroic effort. Not through superhuman discipline. But through one simple decision, made once, that pays dividends for the rest of their lives. But here is the question that kept me up at night when I first learned this. What if you do not have 10%? What if you are living paycheck to paycheck and there is literally nothing left? There is an answer to this. And it might surprise you. Part 7, what if you have nothing to save? I want to tell you about a couple named Jim and Sue. They came to David Bach's office in their late 40s. They had 2 kids. They had good jobs. They had a nice house in a good neighborhood. And they had 0 savings. 0 retirement. 0 emergency fund. 0 college fund for the kids. They told Bach the same thing you might be thinking right now. We cannot save. There is nothing left at the end of the month. Our bills eat up everything. Bach asked to see their expenses. And what he found was a different story. Jim and Sue were spending over $1,200 a month on things they could not even remember. Online shopping. Takeout. Subscription services they never used. Gym memberships they never used. Daily trips to the convenience store. Late fees. Interest charges. They were not irresponsible people. They were just not paying attention. Bach asked them to do one thing. For 1 month, write down everything they spent. Every single purchase. Every dollar. They did not want to do this. It felt like homework. It felt like punishment. But they did it. And at the end of the month, they were shocked. They found over $600 a month in spending that added no value to their lives. $600. That is $7,200 a year. They did not need to cut everything. They did not need to feel deprived. They just needed to cut the wasted spending. The automatic spending. The spending that happened without thought. They set up an automatic transfer for $400 a month. It came out on payday. They never saw it. Within 10 years, that $400 a month had grown into over $70,000. They were not millionaires. But they had gone from 0 to 70,000. Their stress dropped. Their marriage improved. They stopped fighting about money. Here is the point. If you feel like you have nothing to save, you are probably not tracking your spending. Because almost everyone has leaks. Small leaks. $5 here. $10 there. Money that slips away without you ever feeling like you spent it. The solution is not to live like a monk. The solution is to spend 1 month tracking every dollar. Just 1 month. And then find the leaks. Find the wasted money. Find the money you are spending on things that do not make you happier, healthier, or more fulfilled. And then redirect that money to your future self. But saving alone is not enough. If you simply save money in a bank account, it will barely grow. Bank interest rates are often lower than inflation. That means your money actually loses purchasing power over time. You are saving your way to poverty. To become a millionaire, you need your money to grow faster than inflation. You need to invest. And this is where most people get terrified. Part 8, the emergency fund. Before we talk about investing, I need to tell you about something that destroys more financial plans than bad investments. Life. Here is what happens to most people. They start saving. They feel good. They put money into investments. And then something happens. The car breaks down. The water heater explodes. Someone gets sick. The company has layoffs. And because they have no emergency fund, they have to sell their investments. Often at a loss. Often with penalties. All their progress gets wiped out. This is the most avoidable financial disaster. And it is why you need an emergency fund before you invest a single dollar. An emergency fund is simply money you set aside for unexpected expenses. Not for vacations. Not for shopping. Not for a new TV. For emergencies only. How much? 3 to 6 months of basic living expenses. If you spend $3,000 a month on rent, food, utilities, and other necessities, you need between $9,000 and $18,000 in your emergency fund. That sounds like a lot. I know. But you do not build it overnight. You build it automatically. You set up an automatic transfer every payday. $50 a week. $200 a month. Whatever you can afford. It goes into a separate savings account. Not your checking account. Not your investment account. A boring savings account where the money is safe and accessible. Where should you keep this money? A high-yield savings account. Not the stock market. Not cryptocurrency. Not a CD that locks your money away. A simple savings account that you can access within 24 hours. Why? Because emergencies do not wait for market conditions. If your car breaks down on a Tuesday, you need money on Tuesday. Not next week. Not when the market recovers. Here is what happens once you have an emergency fund. The car breaks down. You pay for it. You do not panic. You do not go into debt. You do not sell your investments. You just take the money from your emergency fund and then rebuild it over the next few months. Without an emergency fund, that same car repair goes on a credit card. 18% interest. Months or years to pay off. Your net worth goes backward. Remember Jim and Sue? The couple who found $600 a month in wasted spending? The first thing they did was build an emergency fund. 6 months of expenses. It took them a year. Then, 6 months later, Sue lost her job. The company restructured. It was not her fault. She was terrified. But then she remembered the emergency fund. She had $18,000 sitting there. She could pay her bills for 6 months while she looked for a new job. She found a new job in 3 months. The emergency fund saved her from disaster. An emergency fund is not exciting. It does not make you rich. But it keeps you from becoming poor. It is the foundation that everything else is built on. So here is your order of operations. First, build a starter emergency fund. $1,000. Just to cover the small emergencies. Second, get your full employer retirement match. This is free money. 100% return. Nothing else in finance comes close. Third, pay off high-interest debt. Credit cards. Personal loans. Anything above 8%. Fourth, build a full emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses. Fifth, Max out tax-advantaged retirement accounts. Roth IRA. 401k, health savings account. 6th, invest in low-cost index funds or target date funds. 7th, automate everything and forget about it. We will cover each of these steps in detail. But this is the roadmap. This is the system. Follow it in order, and you will build wealth. Part 9, the truth about investing. I want to be honest with you. When I first heard about investing, I was scared. I thought it was gambling. I thought I would lose everything. I thought you needed to be a genius who watches the stock market all day. And I am not alone in this fear. Ask your friends what stops them from investing. They will say things like, what if the market crashes? What if I pick the wrong stock? What if I lose everything? I do not understand any of it. These are reasonable fears. The financial world is full of complicated language designed to make you feel like you need an expert. And yes, there are people who have lost everything. There are stories of fraud and collapse. But here is the truth that Wall Street does not want you to know. The simplest investment strategy consistently outperforms the vast majority of professional fund managers. It requires no research. No daily monitoring. No special knowledge. No timing the market. It is called indexing. Here is how it works. Instead of trying to pick individual stocks, which is essentially gambling, you buy a small piece of every company in the entire market at once. When the market goes up, you go up. When the market goes down, you go down. But over the long term, the market has always gone up. Not every year. But over decades, the trend is unmistakable. Think about every major crash in modern history. Every one of those drops felt like the end of the world when people were living through it. The dot-com crash in 2000. The financial crisis in 2008. The pandemic in 2020. Each one terrifying. Each one temporary. An investor who simply kept buying every single month through every single one of those disasters would have turned $10,000 into over $600,000. Not because they were smart. Because they were consistent. The people who lost money permanently were the ones who panicked and sold. The ones who did nothing, who kept investing automatically, made all their money back and then some. This is why automation is your greatest protection against fear. You do not decide whether to invest when the market is crashing. The decision was already made. The money goes in regardless. But where do you actually put this money? Open a brokerage account. The most beginner-friendly options are Fidelity and Vanguard. Both are free to open. Both have no minimum to start. If your employer offers a 401k, stop this video right now and go sign up if you have not already. This is the single most important action in this entire video. Here is why. Many employers match your contributions. If your employer matches 50% up to 6% of your salary, that is an instant 50% return on your investment the moment you contribute. Nothing in finance gives you a guaranteed 50% return on day one. If you are not contributing enough to get the full match, you are leaving free money on the table. Contribute at minimum enough to get the full employer match. That is your first priority before everything else. Now let me explain two accounts that will change your financial life. The first is a traditional 401k or IRA. You put money in before taxes. This reduces your taxable income today. The money grows tax-free. You pay taxes when you withdraw it in retirement. Best if you expect to be in a lower tax bracket in retirement. The second is a Roth IRA. You put money in after taxes. It grows completely tax-free. You pay zero taxes when you withdraw in retirement. Best if you are young or expect to be in a higher tax bracket later. For most young people, the Roth IRA is the better choice. You pay taxes now, when your income is lower. Then you never pay taxes again on decades of growth. $200 a month in a Roth IRA, earning 8% over 35 years, becomes over $370,000. And because it is a Roth, every single dollar of that is yours. No taxes owed. None. Now, what do you actually buy inside these accounts? The simplest answer, a target date fund. You pick the year closest to when you plan to retire. If you plan to retire around 2055, you buy a fund called something like Fidelity Freedom 2055 or Vanguard Target Retirement 2055. That is it. One fund. You never touch it again. The fund automatically holds thousands of companies worldwide. When you are young, it is aggressive, mostly stocks for maximum growth. As you approach retirement, it automatically shifts to safer investments. Everything is managed for you. One fund. Set it. Forget it. And let 30 years of compounding do the rest. Here is the honest truth. The hardest part of investing is not picking the right fund. The hardest part is not selling when the market drops. The automation handles that for you. You set up the automatic contribution. You choose the target date fund. And then you do the hardest thing of all. Nothing. Part 10, The Debt Trap. Before we go any further, I need to address the thing that is silently destroying most people's ability to build wealth. High-interest debt. Imagine you have $10,000 in credit card debt at 18% interest. And you also have $10,000 invested in the stock market earning 8%. Every single day, your debt is growing faster than your investment. The 18% is compound interest working against you. You are running on a treadmill. Moving constantly. Getting nowhere. This is why the order of operations matters so much. Pay off high-interest debt before investing aggressively. Not student loans at 5%. Not your mortgage. But credit cards, payday loans, personal loans, anything above 8% interest. These must go first. The fastest way to eliminate debt is the debt avalanche. You make minimum payments on everything. Then you throw every extra dollar at the debt with the highest interest rate. Once that is gone, you attack the next highest. And so on. The math is brutal. On a $10,000 credit card balance at 18%, making only minimum payments takes over 27 years and costs more in interest than the original debt. Paying just $300 a month eliminates it in 3 years for a fraction of the cost. The solution is the same as always. Automate it. Set automatic payments above the minimum. Set them on payday. And watch the debt disappear while you live your normal life. One more tool. If you have credit card debt at high interest, look into a balance transfer card offering 0% interest for 12 to 18 months. Every dollar you pay during that period goes entirely toward your principal. No interest. The debt disappears much faster. One warning. Pay off the entire balance before the promotional period ends. After that, the rate can jump dramatically. Set up automatic payments for the exact amount needed to pay the full balance before the deadline. Then cut up the card. Part 11, The House Question. Let me tell you about the most expensive sentence in the English language. You deserve it. The real estate industry, the banks, the mortgage brokers, they all want you to believe that you deserve the most house you can possibly qualify for. They want you to stretch. They want the maximum mortgage. Because that is how they make money. And it sounds reasonable. Your home is an investment, right? Sometimes. But here is what nobody tells you. Every extra dollar you spend on your mortgage is a dollar that cannot grow in the stock market. A bigger house does not just cost more money today. It costs you the decades of compound growth that money could have generated. An extra $200 a month on your mortgage, over 30 years, seems manageable. But that same $200 invested at 8% becomes $350,000. That is the real cost of the bigger house. Here is a simple rule. Your mortgage payment should be no more than 25% of your take-home pay. On a 15-year fixed-rate mortgage, not 30 years. A 15-year mortgage has a higher monthly payment. But on a $300,000 loan, choosing 15 years over 30 saves over $100,000 in interest. That money goes into your pocket, not the bank's. If the 15-year payment on a house you want is more than 25% of your income, the house is too expensive. Buy less house. Or wait and save a larger down payment. This is not a popular message. But it is an honest one. The automatic millionaire buys a comfortable, affordable home. And invests the rest. Part 12, Protecting What You Build. Imagine you spend 15 years building wealth. You automate everything. Your net worth is growing. You are on track. And then something happens. One event. And everything is at risk. All those years of discipline could disappear in months. This is why the automatic millionaire does not just build wealth. They protect it. Here is what you need. Think of this as your financial armor. Health insurance. Non-negotiable. One serious illness without coverage can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. If your employer offers it, take it. If not, get it on the marketplace. Disability insurance. This is the most overlooked and possibly most important. Your ability to earn income is your greatest financial asset. If you cannot work, everything stops. Disability insurance replaces 60% of your income if you become unable to work. Many employers offer it. If yours does not, buy it. Term life insurance. If anyone depends on your income, a spouse, children, aging parents, you need this. Not whole life. Not universal life. Simple, cheap term life insurance for 10 to 12 times your annual income. A healthy 30-year-old can get $500,000 of coverage for under $30 a month. Insurance is not exciting. It does not feel like wealth building. But it is the wall that protects everything you build. Set up automatic payments. And then never think about it again. Part 13, The Psychology of Enough. Let me ask you something. Think back to something you really wanted. Something you saved for. Something you dreamed about. A phone. A vacation. A car. A bag. A gadget. Remember how excited you were when you finally got it? Now think about how you feel about that thing today. This is called the hedonic treadmill. And it is one of the most documented findings in psychology. Humans adapt to every increase in material comfort. You get a raise. You feel great for 3 months. Then you get used to it. Now you need a bigger raise to feel the same satisfaction. Your lifestyle expands to match your income. You are always chasing the next thing. Research consistently shows that beyond a certain income level, enough to cover your needs comfortably, more money does not make you meaningfully happier. What changes is not your joy. It is your obligations. Your expenses. Your stress. But here is what does increase happiness. Freedom. The freedom to work because you want to, not because you have to. The freedom to say no to a bad job, a bad client, a bad situation. The freedom to take a month off when your parents get sick. The freedom to retire early. The freedom to be generous. That kind of freedom does not come from a bigger salary. It comes from a bigger net worth. The automatic millionaire is not chasing the next thing. They are building towards something deeper. Not a number. Not a milestone. But a feeling. The feeling of enough. Part 14, The Complete System. Let me bring everything together. This is the complete automatic millionaire system. Every step. In order. Step 1. Calculate your net worth today. Write it down. Track it every month. Know your starting point. Step 2. Build a $1,000 emergency fund. Set up an automatic transfer. Build this first, before anything else. Step 3. Track every dollar you spend for 1 month. Find the waste. Find the leaks. Identify money that is disappearing without making you happier. Step 4. Pay off any debt above 8% interest. Use the debt avalanche method. Automate payments above the minimum. Step 5. Once high-interest debt is gone, build your full emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of basic living expenses in a high-yield savings account. Automate it. Step 6. If your employer offers a retirement match, contribute enough to capture the full match. This is the highest return investment available to you. Do this before any other investing. Step 7. Open a Roth IRA. Choose a target date fund matching your retirement year. Set up automatic monthly contributions. Never touch it. Step 8. Make sure you have adequate insurance. Health. Disability. Term life if someone depends on you. Renters or homeowners. Set up automatic payments. Done. Step 9. Live your life. Go to work. See your friends. Eat good food. Travel sometimes. Enjoy the present. Because while you are living, the system is running. Every payday, money moves. Every month, your investments grow. Every year, your net worth climbs. Without effort. Without discipline. Without thinking about it. This is how ordinary people retire with dignity. This is how someone earning $50,000 a year ends up with more than someone earning $200,000. This is how the woman in the Honda beats the man in the BMW. Not by being smarter. Not by getting lucky. By building a system once, and letting time do the rest. Closing. Sarah started investing $200 a month at age 22. She did it for 8 years. Then she stopped. She never thought about it again. Today she has over $400,000. She retired at 62. She has never once worried about money. Kimberly gave up her daily muffin and started packing lunch 3 days a week. She found $160 a month without feeling deprived. She automated it. She still buys coffee every morning. But now she has over $60,000 saved and growing. She is not stressed. She is not scrambling. The system runs while she lives. Jim and Sue found $600 a month in wasted spending and redirected $400 of it to savings. They built an emergency fund. It saved them when Sue lost her job. They kept going. They are not millionaires. But they have over $120,000. They are going to be okay. For the first time in their lives, they believe that. And me? I sat in that apartment, stuck. Money in, money out. Nothing to show for it. I found my Latte Factor. Mine was late-night online orders I never remembered making in the morning. I set up automatic transfers the same week I found this book. I opened a Roth IRA. I picked a target date fund. I set up a $50 a week transfer and forgot about it. That was years ago. I am not a millionaire yet. But I will be. The math is already done. The system is already running. I just have to keep living. And so can you. You do not need to be wealthy to start. You do not need to be disciplined. You do not need to understand the stock market. You just need to start. One automatic transfer. One target date fund. One decision, made once, that runs forever. That is all it takes. Start the snowball today.